Hey, what's going on everyone? Mano back here with another Destiny 2 strategy guide. In today's video, we're going to be doing the Harbinger Mission, and we're going to be doing a solo flawless version of it. This is not going to be the only solo flawless I do of this. I'm going to be doing it on all the different characters. I'm going to give you a lot of different options, especially because there are lots of different builds and lots of different ways to do this. This is the first time I really got a chance to go through this and actually kind of think about how I was going to deal with all the encounters, and I've got some tips and tricks that might help you out. As this is a solo flawless guide, I am not going to be guiding you through every single little encounter because I'm going to assume you have done this before. There are going to be some things that are self-evident, like the path that you need to go, as well as where you need to move and jump to. But there are a couple of tips and tricks that will help save a little bit of time. And this definitely was not my fastest run by far. I definitely could have pushed it farther, but I wanted to just be safe and get a nice, easy clear for those people who are looking to get it done in a relatively short amount of time. So the loadout I'm going to be using a combination of the Nation of Beasts hand cannon. I'm going to be using a sniper, which is the Bite of the Fox sniper from the Iron Banner, as well as Wither Horde. Wither Horde is going to be a vital piece of this. And again, if you don't have that, don't worry. I'm going to make a lot of other videos on this, particularly because I do really enjoy solo flawless guides on different things like this, like my 0 hour guide, Whisper the Worm, and all these other things like that. So if there is a weapon that you see here that you don't have, there are some good substitutions for those as well. The final weapon I'm going to be using is the Commemoration LMG from the Deepstone Crypt raid. And I actually really enjoy using that, but again, it's not required. All of these things are just things that I thought would be a good fit. And I'm using a Sunfire Furnace Titan on the bottom tree of the hammers. And I'll show you why I use that in particular in a lot of ways. So first things first, when we go into this room here, there is a trick that you can do here that will actually get you through this stage faster. If you can get the taken bosses to actually put their immune shields up faster, it will make all the other ads around them despawn. So here, unfortunately, I was not able to get them down all the way, but if you can do as much burst damage to them as possible, you'll see here in just a second that some of these enemies will actually disappear, and then I can move on to the next one. I can save some ammunition. Now, the reason I'm using the Bite of the Fox here is so that I can take out the snipers, which is the real challenge of this first turbine haul here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the left side of the room, and I'm basically going to start from this left side and move forward over to the right. So the basic thing I want to do is keep all the snipers in front of me at a distance so I can easily take them out and not really have to worry about accidentally getting sniped. Now, some of these folks are actually going to respawn as well as you start to push the different taken bosses into different areas. But these folks here, these snipers here, are usually one of the main causes of wipes. So getting up on top and being able to take them out is a very, very good solution. It doesn't really take a whole lot of work. And if you want to use a SMG or something like that that has anti-barrier to shoot through shields, you definitely can do that. That would definitely make certain parts of this run go faster, but I did not do that on this case. I'm going to go ahead here and switch to my 7th Seraph SMG here because I do really like this here. Now here I'm going to try and push the boss to go forward, but this is one of the things that you have to watch out for if you're doing a solo run. It's very easy for all of the Taken to actually start ganging up on you very quickly, especially with those enemies that are going to shield each other. It can be a real problem to try and take them all out. So I would really recommend trying to stay up on top. Here, if I was able to get his shields off, I would have been able to push him relatively quickly to the next area, but because I did not do that, they all ganged up on me and I had to fall back quite a bit so that I could go ahead and get to a high ground position here and take the rest of them out. Now, one of the reasons why I like this SMG in particular is because of the fact that it has a lot of bullets in it and I can take care of a lot of the ads very quickly with it, and it has Dragonfly. So even though these enemies hurt quite a bit, Dragonfly works pretty well on all of them. Now you'll notice that I switched to my Wither Horde here. Basically the strategy that I'm going to be using here is because the enemies are going to be trying to shield and do a lot of damage to you. Basically what I'm going to do is rip off their shields as quickly as I possibly can and then do as much damage with Wither Horde as I can to get them to proc and go to the next area where they need to go. That's going to come back a couple of times in the mission. Now that I've done this, I'm going to continue moving forward. Now, one of the nice things about using a Titan in this particular run is that you're going to have the opportunity to use some shields in some different places, which is going to be nice against some of the taken enemies. Again, this isn't required. There's lots of different ways to do this, but this is a nice, safe, easy way to do this. In case you're getting sniped, just pop your shield and move on. Now, the other reason why I'm running a Solar Titan is because I have all 3 of the light-based subclasses represented here. I've got my SMG that has got arc, I've got my void machine gun, and then I've got grenades and things like that, and all my abilities that are solar. Now, because of that, and the reason I'm wearing Howl of Fire Heart on this particular run is to make sure that I proc Sunfire Furnace, like I said earlier, but more importantly, it's to make sure that I'm constantly getting melees and grenades, because I'm going to use those a lot of times through here. Now, it's not required, but it definitely does make it a lot easier. So what I need to do here is, again, move to the area where I need to find the first boss of Savathûn, and luckily on this particular run I was able to force quite a bit of damage on him. Now, unlike the areas in the Turbine Hall, the main central area, you do have to kill all of these enemies here if you want to make sure you're not getting killed. Now, if you want to push and save a whole bunch of time and just push through the door, you technically can do that, but I was worried during a solo flawless run of getting shot in the back, especially because I'm going to approach this. There's going to be enemies shooting me right in front. So you can skip those enemies as well as the ones behind. You just have to realize that you're taking a calculated risk, and it's possible that those folks may kill you. So what we're going to do now is jump down over to this area and open up the door and open up the blighted area. Come around the corner here, knock these folks out. And again, this is one of the reasons why I like Dragonfly for this, because the Taken are so annoying and they can really gang up on you quickly. This is an easy way for you to take out a lot of the enemies with no problems. It doesn't really take a whole lot of effort. Now, as you come up here, the first thing you're going to encounter is a wizard behind the pipe. Go ahead and knock her out as soon as you can. Focus fire on them, and then I came around the corner really quickly to take out the rest of the void enemies. Now, if you can, you want to put that grenade up just a little bit higher. I actually misshot that particular one, but what's nice about this, and the reason why I'm running the Solar Titan, is I can essentially give him a good punch, break his shield, and just make him sit in Wither Horde all day. Again, if you don't have Wither Horde, it's not the end of the world. It's still very doable without it. But I just found that this is a particularly easy strategy for those who do have it. Now, here is a big time-saving trick if you can get it to work. This is not where you're supposed to go to get the third emissary. You're supposed to be moving up the different corridors and things like that, doing some of the different jumping puzzles, and then moving into this room. However, you can actually shoot and throw grenades and do damage through this barrier here. So you can actually see that I'm actually doing damage here. The one thing you have to be careful of is the fact that the wizard will try and kill you from this spot. And if you don't have a shield, it's going to create some issues. But here you can see I got a pretty quick clear on that as I was able to create a Warmind cell. Now, that is a really, really good thing to do. Now, the other reason why I'm running a Solar Titan is because even if I'm not using an Ikelos weapon, if I use Rage of the Warmind and Wrath of Rasputin, if I get any kind of solar kill or any kind of solar damage piece, it can spawn Warmind cells, even if I'm not using a Warmind or Ikelos weapon, which is really, really great. All right, so we're done with the first portion of the encounter, which is the Turbine Hall and the emissary bosses here. We're going to move to the second main encounter, and this is where a lot of people struggle quite a bit. Now, I'm going to give a couple of suggestions here, and again, I'm going to be making some other videos on how you might be able to accomplish it. But I'm going to go ahead and switch back to my Nation of Beasts here, but I'm going to use the same loadout for everything else. I'm going to use Wither Horde. I'm going to use the Commemoration Machine Gun, as well as using my Solar Titan here with Howl of Fire Heart, and you'll see why I chose these in just a minute. Now, we're going to go through the first and probably, to me, the most annoying part of the encounter is all the enemies up on top. You definitely, if you want to, can get up on some of the upper platforms and do some damage. The problem is that all of these folks here are snipers, and as soon as you start to try and move up into upper elevations, they will all try to snipe you. So what I'm going to do mainly throughout this entire encounter is you're going to see these rocks here that I'm kind of moving back and forth between. Understanding how to use cover, especially when you're doing PvE solo activities, is such a huge deal. And right now I'm going to show you a major advantage of this different area here. And one of the reasons why a lot of people actually die here is because they don't understand how to use cover. Unfortunately here, I could switch to an SMG and do some damage inside of their taken barrier shields, but the truth is it would probably take just as much time to go ahead and switch weapons and then go back and forth and things like that. I just decided for now on this to go ahead and use my LMG, wait for the shields to proc. Sometimes I was able to go ahead and kill them before their shields procced, and that's good. So if you do not get the rest of the enemies to spawn up, what you need to do is fall back, because again, the enemies will do a good amount of damage to you. Don't rush it. There's no reason to. There is no real time limit other than just your ego here. There's no 15-minute time limit or 20-minute time limit like there was on 0 Hour or Whisper of the Worm. Better to get a nice clear that is safe than to risk it for the biscuit. Once you kill all the enemies in this first spawn, and they may hide or they may run, especially in the upper echelons of that particular room, but what will happen is these next wave will actually spawn up. This is going to involve quite a few taken Vex characters, as well as some solar shielded enemies. One of the reasons why I'm using my Solar Titan here is so that I can use my grenades and my melee to do damage to them and then have them gather up here. Now, this is going to be my main strategy in here. Very much like those people who watched 300 and the Battle of Thermopylae, we're going to go ahead and gather all of these enemies up into this small area here. If I'm running all the way around in a big circle, that is going to provide my enemies with a lot of opportunities to do damage to me. But instead, I'm basically just going to go back and forth between these two different rocks, shooting the unstoppable boss with my hand cannon, and then doing as much damage as I can there. That'll involve using Wither Horde, my grenade, and I'm using the Thermite grenade, as well as my melee. By doing that, you can see I make very, very quick work of that champion. It doesn't take very much time at all. After that, you just mop up the final mobs and you're good to go. Here, again, Nation of Beasts is really nice because it has the actual Dragonfly perk, and I really do enjoy just slaying a lot of Taken with that perk. Not only does it feel good, it actually does some pretty good damage to them as well. So it's a good opportunity for you to use that weapon, and if you don't have it, you can get an arc hand cannon named the Nature of the Beast. It's an arc hand cannon that can roll a lot of different perks, but it's a really nice high rate of fire hand cannon. I believe it is a 180. So definitely a good option for those people who maybe haven't raided and gotten the Nation of Beasts. They are relatively close in name, but they are very different in how they play out and things like that. So once you kill all those enemies, then there will be the rest of the Vex will spawn in. You do need to make sure that you move around and make sure that you kill all the other enemies and that you're starting to think ahead about the next encounter. There is one more enemy here, which is a Taken Knight. This Taken Knight can take care of you and kill you very, very quickly. So you need to be very safe and move back as soon as he starts to push you. The final encounter is this. There's going to be 2 wizards as well as 2 unstoppable champions and a whole lot of Vex. Right here, I catch the wizard when they spawn in and I take off their shields really quickly with my commemoration LMG. And again, I'm going to force all of these enemies into this kill box right here. I'm going to go back and forth between using my Wither Horde and my grenade launcher. Now, this is a really good strategy right here. And the other reason why I really like this build, and it's very easy for people to manage. Not only do you get health advantages, not only do you get increased grenade energy, but this class also creates sunspots that you can easily use to stack damage, to help you get your melees and grenades back, as well as keep a barrier or an area of effect for all those characters that are trying to kill you. You can see all of those sunspots there basically doing damage to that boss while I'm just hiding behind cover. With Wither Horde combined, this makes this boss fight pretty darn simple. Nothing really to it, just make sure that when you are using your unstoppable hand cannon, that you have to re-aim down the scope to actually activate the actual mechanism that stops them. And then you want to make sure that if they are over on the left or the right hand edge, that you kind of guide them back to where they need to be. Or if that happens, you don't just try to push them really quickly. One of the runs that I actually did while I was on stream on twitch.tv/ManoDestra777, shameless plug there. But one of the things that I actually did is I ended up pushing some of these folks and the wizards a little bit too quickly. And because of that, they took advantage of my position and the wizards were able to kill me relatively quickly. In addition, the unstoppable champions are trying to knock you off the map or push you back into the wall, and they can do a great amount of damage. So playing it safe like this makes it fairly easy. And again, you can see here, there really isn't a whole lot of enemies that you have to deal with. And the number one thing that I've heard on the rest of my guides is the fact that so many people struggle with this encounter. By doing this, not only does it parse the enemies in a way that you can deal with them, it also makes it more effective to kill with those enemies with your Wither Horde or your grenades or anything else like that. When you are all done with this, you may have a couple more Vex left, but honestly, there will just be one more wizard. Kill her as well as all of her little lackeys, and you will be good to go on to the next section of the mission. After doing what some people think is the difficult part of this encounter, you go ahead and make your way here. Now, I'm going to be on my Titan, and later on, I'm going to go ahead and switch off of my Hallowfire Heart and switch to my Lion Rampants. I'm only going to do that for safety measures to make sure I don't. But if you are doing a solo flawless run, you want every advantage that you can get your hands on as you spec out your character and think about what you're going to do. Now, one of the other things that's really cool about this particular mission is the fact that you can switch weapons at any time. I'm going to go ahead and change back to my snipers at this point. It's going to be pretty simple to do. When you get into the reservoir and you try to do the jumping puzzle, just take your time. There's no reason to rush through it. I actually had quite a few simple, easy runs, I think 2 or 3, that actually got ended just because I was trying to speed run through this. As soon as I took my time and paced myself through this encounter, I had no issues through this at all whatsoever. Do make sure that if you have any advantages like using an exotic like Lion Rampants or things like that, that you are set up and ready to go. Again, this is just for the solo flawless clear. This isn't for the timed clear at all either. When I did this, I do believe I got just a little bit above 30 minutes, which is pretty good, but not the greatest. I'm going to be working on seeing if I can push that speed down quite a bit. And again, just making sure that you watch where you're going is huge. Now, I've got to say this area here is very tricky, and I know that seems simple, but you have to make sure that you get around that ledge, because what I had happen to me once was I pushed through that encounter because I saw the pipe and I saw the ledge and I didn't think that it was going to be an issue. And then as soon as I walked by it, it pushed me off the edge and I had to restart. Make your way into the pipe right here. And what I did not do in my last video that I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to use my LMG to kill that enemy before I even start to jump. As long as you do it quick enough, you won't have any issues. So next thing you're going to do is you're going to follow the path that you see here on screen. Again, make sure you have some type of void weapon out because there will be a couple of enemies that are going to be trying to kill you, and they do have void shields. So make sure you've got that and move on over to this next area. Now here you have to make sure that you don't accidentally boop your head on something up above, like a piece of the roof or any kind of beam or anything else like that. So just make sure you take your time. Okay, when you get to the end of the railway section, you're going to turn to the left and you're going to take care of the enemies that are there waiting for you. As soon as you do that, you're going to make this jump across the way. Just make sure you take your time and you don't get hit by any of the blight booping traps that are strewn throughout this mission. As soon as you do that, what you're going to do is hop on over to the wall. Now, there are two options here. You can either go to the upper area or you can continue to follow the path that you see here on screen. I'm going to prefer the path that's on the bottom of my screen just because there's more cover and just because there's an opportunity to fall back if those enemies don't get killed right away. Now, I had a good clean shot on the first one. The second one accidentally sniped me and I was not able to adjust. So just make sure you take your time, kill those two, and you will be in good shape. Now that I'm done with this part, I'm going to go ahead and switch to Wither Horde and jump to this next area. Now, this area is probably the most calamitous of all the different areas inside the jumping puzzle because there is an unstoppable champion here that is going to be trying to boop you off the ledge here. This is almost going to be an area where I wipe. You'll see I get very, very close to death. Part of the reason why is that taken shield attack will actually come around the shield and do a significant part of damage to you. I almost died there. So just make sure you don't rush. One of the other options you have is standing on this platform here and doing some damage. You're going to see that I take that attack here in just a minute, but I'm going to go ahead and try and get as much damage to them as I possibly can. Nothing major special here. You just want to make sure that you take out the unstoppable as quickly as you can. Again, Xenophage is a good choice for this, but there are a lot of other times having a nice void weapon would make a huge difference. Now here, I'm going to go ahead and stun him. I want to show you what will happen if you're not prepared for it, if you're not ready for him to push you off the edge. So even though I was behind the rock there, I got pushed off the edge. Luckily, I had Lion Rampants on. I was able to push forward and save the day and save my run. So definitely, even though you maybe don't think that you need them, it's not a bad idea to have those in your back pocket. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and knock this boss out. And if you can get to this advantage position here, where your back is up against the door that you are going to open, that's actually the sweet spot for where you want to be. All right, now we're going to move and get all of our stuff set up. We're going to go ahead and move our legs and make sure we've got a normal set of legs, get our Sunfire Furnace on, as well as the correct weapons for this particular run as well. I decided to use the Summoner Auto Rifle. In retrospect, it wasn't the greatest choice. I just wanted to see how it handled in the video, but something like Stars and Shadows would be nice. If Ancient Gospel had some type of a dragonfly roll on it, that would be a lot of fun to use in this particular encounter as well. And just like I did in the last fight, I'm going to use the geometry of my map. Instead of having the designers treat it as a disadvantage, I'm going to use it as an advantage. But there are a couple of other things that are going on right now that you need to be prepared for. Number one, when you are done damaging the boss, after a certain period of time, there are going to be a lot of blighted pooping traps, like you can see here on the map on the ground. One of the things that I did is I used the geometry all around the map to make sure that I didn't accidentally die to fire. I didn't accidentally die to some kind of super attack or anything else like that. I just wanted to make sure that I stayed in cover. And then as soon as I took damage, I kind of backed up just a little bit. The final goal of this area is to destroy the light drinker in this area, which spawns very similarly like some of the other encounters in this raid. There are 3 different damage phases. So once you do enough damage phases to actually get the boss to disappear, a number of things are going to happen. Number one, the blighted booping trap puzzles are going to spawn up all along the floor on the map, and you're going to feel like you're out of control if you don't know where they're coming. So across the map, you can see that there's some of the booping puzzles over there. You can see that some of the other enemies have spawned on the opposite side. In addition, there's going to be a number of Vex that are going to have shields, as well as the Acolyte Eyes that you're going to want to make sure that you take care of. In addition to that, the Taken Knight over on the opposite side is going to be trying to kill you, so you need to make sure that you always leave an escape route. Now, again, this would be a really good opportunity for Stars and Shadow, but I didn't really find that that would be the best here. I actually ended up using my Summoner again. Now, as soon as the enemy spawns in on this side, you can first of all hit him with Witherhoard either directly or on the ground. Throw a grenade, and as soon as you do that, that's going to be a pretty easy kill for you. Now that we've progressed the encounter far enough, you can see that there are a number of the blighted booping areas. Again, the big thing to do is to make sure you understand how the pattern works, how it moves from left to right across the screen, but also make sure that there are some areas in between the 2 different blights that you can sit and comfortably chill in between damage phases, or if you're just trying to catch your breath. Rushing here is not the play, especially if you're just trying to get the solo flawless triumph knocked out so you don't have to worry about it anymore. Once you kill that first wave of Vex, you'll see that there are a number of different Taken Vex all over, and a lot of them, again, have that void shield. So you need to make sure that you're looking on the ground as well, because a number of them are going to start spawning repeatedly over and over and over. If you let them get out of control, it will be easy for them to knock you out as quickly as possible. Once that's done and you've killed the Vex over in that area, you can use this rock over here for cover, but you need to be very quick about it. It's really just a transitional piece of cover to move over to this area. In addition, you can use this archway path here underneath where the knight is to go ahead and make sure that you stay covered and that you kill all of the Vex enemies before you hop up to damage the other boss. As this counter features quite a bit of solar damage, as well as the fact that there is increased solar damage incoming from different enemies, you need to be very, very careful around that knight. It only takes 1 minute of non-attention to get you killed very quickly and spawned back at the beginning of this encounter. Now, I would continue to do as much damage to that enemy as you can. Again, using Witherhoard from a distance is a nice touch, especially when the shield is off. Now, right before the transitional period where you kill that knight for the last time is a great opportunity to make sure that the rest of the ads are dead, as well as to make sure that you have enough ammunition for the next phase. You can see over down to the right hand side, there are a couple of pieces of ammunition that I want to pick up so that I can have them in case if I get into a little bit of a tougher situation. Once all of the Taken are killed, you can go ahead and start to damage the boss again as he will reappear. Again, a really good choice here is Wither Horde along with any kind of Dragonfly elements, as well as something with Vorpal Weapon would also be a really good choice. But here in particular, I found that Wither Horde and the Solar Thermite Grenade worked really together as a pairing. Even though many of you might be screaming at the screen right now to use my super, the fact that I've got Sunfire Furnace running repeatedly on my character makes this very much a non-issue. I can basically just wait until he pops a grenade because he's not going to go into significant cover. I'll be able to do a lot of damage to him with the actual Wither Horde and the grenade launcher and just keep going back and forth. And I can keep picking off the enemies whenever I'd like because I know that they do respawn after a while. But again, here you can see I'm doing some pretty good work to those actual bosses there. So just take your time, don't rush. And if any fire starts to come at you, make sure that you fall back if it is in front of you, or push forward if for some reason that it's behind you. I tried to save at least 100 shots of your void weapon just because there's going to be a lot of different enemies here at this last point and you want to make sure that you're ready to go. You can see here that this is a little bit of a tougher situation because the boss is going to be shooting a lot of fire at you from that area. So you really need to be mindful of it and don't rush. Just take your time and make sure that you get the kill for the last time so that you can move on and get your random roll Hawkmoon. Now here you're going to want to feel like you're pushing the damage really hard. It does not have him go right away when it reaches 1/3 of health energy. It actually takes about to the point where it gets down to about 10% in the feed. So again, right before you are going to transition and send him to a different area, and you're going to go ahead and go through all of the Taken traps as well as all the Taken enemies, take a second, reload all your weapons, get everything reloaded so that you are armed and ready to go. Again, you can see here that the knight is being pretty persistent, but we're going to go ahead and take care of him here in a second, and we'll go from there. All right, now we've reached that portion where the boss is going to go ahead and disappear in just a second, as well as the Taken booping mechanics are going to start up all around you. And then there also is going to be a bunch of enemies that are going to spawn as well. Again, the strategy that I'm using is kind of an infinite deterrent for these folks. I'm going to put down as many solar grenades as I can here to create sunspots that will do damage to them, as well as making sure that I am using whatever I've got to rip the shields off of all of the big bosses that you've got in this section. Here I was able to take off the solar shield through the grenade as well as my primary weapon. And then I've got the enemies over on the far side. I'm taking them out with my machine gun. Pretty simple. And now I can just focus on this area here. Now here I'm going to be very, very, very safe. In fact, you're going to probably think that I'm taking this section a little bit too safe. But you've got to respect the difficulty of this mission. It does not take long for your character to get wrecked in this particular mission. You take a little bit of a hit from one of the Taken booping mechanics, plus you have the knight that hits you with some fire, as well as any of those acolyte eyes or those acolytes shooting at you. And you can see that I'm almost dead after nearly not even half a second of damage, and I'm already almost dead. So you definitely need to be planning ahead for that, making sure that you're moving and making sure that you never stay in one place for long. If you do stay in one place for long, it'll be very easy for the Taken knight on the opposite side to try and center you in and throw a lot of fire in your location. So it'll be very easy to die there, and it happens very quickly. But if you can go ahead and keep moving, you won't have that issue. One more time as you ascend to this area here, take your time. Now, this knight is going to move very fast. He does not like to get stunned. Here you can see that I almost died, but because I'm thinking on my feet, I'm able to get to an area of cover, move back, regain my health, and not die as they are trying to snipe me or do anything else like that. Again, here I'm going to take out some of the Vex. This isn't necessarily something that you have to do, but I found it was nice for peace of mind just so that I could focus on the boss and move on from there. Now this area over here is pretty interesting. It is kind of hard to get up to this upper elevation here, and I feel like you're almost a sitting duck in this spot. This is right where that Taken Knight likes to sit there, so you'll notice that I don't stand in that spot for very long. I'm basically just trying to get another angle on the Taken Knight to make sure that he keeps moving around and he doesn't throw continual fire on my location, even though he mostly does that anyway. I'm going to keep moving back and forth, using my Wither Horde, as well as a good spot to use my Thermite Grenade. You can see me jump up here, move up to this spot, throw my grenade, get a little damage, pop a Wither Horde, and get a ton of damage on that. Again, there will be moments where the Vex will actually start to coalesce again and respawn. Watch out for those Acolyte Eyes as well as the Booking Beam mechanics. Don't rush this section. It's very easy to have your heart rate start to race. Just take your time, realize that there is no timer on this, save the one that you provide for yourself, and just make sure that you enjoy the ride. As soon as you kill that final knight, there is very, very little to do. Make sure that all the Vex are killed all over around you, especially you can look down here. You can see that I left a pile of the Taken Vex, and we're going to go ahead and take them out as soon as I possibly can from a different area in the final staging set. What we're going to do is we'll take those guys out with your shields, and then after that, it's pretty simple. Just wipe up the boss very quickly. You can either use your super. I'm going to be using Wither Horde Grenade in my super to try and rip him down as quickly as possible. Now, he may come in for some reason with full health, but this is a bug. Don't worry about it. Just keep doing damage as much as you possibly can, and then you'll see his normal boss health bar come back, and you can knock him out very, very quickly. All right, folks, that's all there is to it. It does seem like it's a challenging activity, and it is a little bit more challenging than I thought it was going to be. But the truth is that this is very doable with the right tools and the right mindset. Number one, you don't have to worry about a timer. You can just take your time, make sure that you've got the right weapons and that your armor is spec'd, and you should be able to knock this out fairly quickly. But I hope that this video has helped you out in some way, shape, or form. And if it has, and only if it has, make sure you subscribe to the channel for more Destiny 2 content. Leave a comment down below and let me know what you're struggling with, or if you are doing some different strategies on this particular mission. I'd love to hear that. Also, make sure you join our Discord server where we have lots of stuff pertaining to Destiny 2, pet pictures, memes, food, all those other things. We'd love to have you in that community. And as always, you want to make sure that you join us over at twitch.tv/ManoDestra777, where I do lots of PvE helps, some PvP fun things, lots of stuff inside of Destiny, and more. So I'm going to go ahead and show you my loadout here, all the different weapons that I use. Thank you all so much for watching. I really hope this helped you out, and more videos are going to be coming, especially on this mission, if you'd like to see me do it on another character. So make sure you turn on the notification bell so you don't miss a thing. Thank you everyone for watching. I do appreciate it so much, and I appreciate your support over on Twitch as well as YouTube as we go on through the year. You folks are amazing. Good hunting, Guardians. I will see you next time in the universe of Destiny.